So that we are going to discuss today. Okay. So along with that, so we'll be done with the string buffer and string builder. So we'll move on to the OOPS concepts today. Okay. So character replace with number. Okay. So here, I'm simply writing this main method. I'm going to create a method outside the main. This is normal method. Public void replace char with count. Okay. Char with number. Okay. So here I'm going to take a string CR is equals to some Java. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is like here I want to count this particular character. Okay. So if see this is like Java, I found it once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. Okay. So this particular character should be replaced with the numeric. Okay, numeric value. Okay. So for this, I want to like I'll show you two approaches. One is like I just want to convert this particular string into a string array. Okay. So after that, what I'm going to do is like I'm just going to use a count variable so that I can count and I can increment it. Okay. So first time I got it, I'm going to make it as like 1. Then after I'll be incrementing that one. So here I'm going to use a for loop so that I want to check where exactly that particular character is located. And once I get that character, I'm going to replace it. Okay. So here I'm going to check it with the condition if I is equals to j. So once I get it, what I'm going to do is like here, I'm going to convert that into a particular. So what is that I need to do now? If I get it. So we just did a small analysis. Like I want to convert this one particular thing. Instance like this character. If I find this character, I want to convert into a string. Okay. So how do I do it? Otherwise, how do I get it in this case? So let me write this one. So I'm going to get that one as like a. I'll put it as like some. We have already taken this. Then what I need to do is like I need to replace that character. Okay. To replace it, what I can do now? Do you have any idea about it? So what is the mistake that we did last time is like just we try to convert this one into a string. Okay. So to convert this into a string, then we have like value of is a function that we can use. And with this, I'm going to get it. But here, what I need to do is like I need to get that one, right? So get that one into the character. So here, I'll just change into a character type. Okay. So string dot value of I, so I'm going to get that character type. Okay. Say for example, this is just give me a second. I'm getting a call. Hello. Chapani. So here I got the character, right? So what if I'm trying to do something like if I want to replace this, okay? So how do I replace this character? Can someone tell me? So I'm going to take another variable and I want to store them it as like a results, okay? So here, so just try to understand, guys. So what I'm trying to do is like here, this value should be replaced with a count, right? So here I can easily increment the count when I get the count. So I'm going to increment the count and next iterations, if I find it somewhere, so I'm going to replace it. So here this count is incremented. Then if I need to just replace that character, that particular character, how can I do it now? So if I add it as like a count, then what happens? But what is that exactly I need to replace with the character. So if I say this is like, converted to the character. Okay. So anyways, like this is a character, but I need to convert this one particular thing to the character. So if I need to change it one to the character. So for example, if I say yes, then what happens? Let's see. Okay. So what mistake we did last time is like just we tried to convert to the character, but it was not converting because we have a option here, string dot value of ch of I, but I did not use this character. Okay. So let's do, if that is matching, then what I'm doing is like, I'm just replacing that with the character and I'm appending that to a variable that I've taken here. Okay. String variable. So if it is not matching, then what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to add the rest of the characters here. Okay. So let's go and try to print this and see what is the output that we are going to get. Okay. So if it is matching here, ch of dot length, and then if it is like equals to j. Okay. So if that is equals to j, then what I'm trying to do is like, I'm trying to take this one, but character, depending the character, let me change this one to the, okay. So it's not because we are trying to get the character data time. Okay. So now you see string dot value of ch of I. Okay. If it is matching, then if this character, whatever character I'm taking, okay. So this character and the character j. Okay. So if it is matching, then what I'm trying to do is like, I'm trying to convert it to the, so it's like, it's already, we have this character ch of I. What is that? It is already j. Okay. But what we need to do is like, we need to replace that. Okay. How do we replace this particular thing now? We have to use, what do we need to use? What do we need to do? We have to use this str dot replace. What is that old character? This is the old character and this is the new character that you want to replace. Okay. But when we do the replace, what is happening here? This is the count value. So do I need to take the count or do I need to take the character? So we need to take the count, right? So what I'm going to do is like, I'll take this one as like a count and this particular thing, I'm going to take it as like a value. Okay. So what is that character that I need to replace? This is the character I need to replace. So this is the value I can get. Okay. So now what we are trying to do, we are trying to just replace that character. Okay. But here, what I'm trying to do is like replace str dot replace this particular character with the value. Okay. I got it. But here, in this case, if I don't create any new variable, okay. So if I don't create any new string variable, then what happens is like, it's trying to append this character here itself. Okay. This will happen only like, this particular string at the first time, it will go and replace it. But if it is not available, then what it is doing, what it will do is like, it will write, we have to do the appends for the rest of the things, right? And we have a here, b here, and a here. So likewise, it has to continuously iterate it and it has to append the values here. So here, what I'm going to do is like, I'll just take this one and I'm going to paste it here. Okay. So whenever I get this value, I'm going to replace that value and I'm going to append that. Okay. So likewise, I'll be keep on iterating this value. So let me execute this program and see what happens now. What is that we are missing here? So let me just check it again. ch of I. So character, we got the value. This is also fine. And I want to just to see that as last time we discussed about the debugging, right? I want to see what is the value that I'm going to get it here. Okay. Is the value I'm getting here or not? Let's see. But this is like, not getting into I is equals to 0, I is less than the count that I'm getting here. This is fine. So let me just run it as like a debug. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys. So here we did not create any variable object for this class, right? So that is the reason why it is executing properly, but we are not creating object for that. Okay, I'll talk about like how do we create object for this character. Say that character or replace number. Okay, so this is new here. I'm getting it. C2 replace dot. What is that function that we have? Replace character. Let's go and execute it. Single string integer out of range. Okay, so it says like it is out of range. So what I can do is like I try to we are getting somewhere. Oh, 1 second. What is that? Here it says like character. So we'll see what is that. So with the help of like debugging, we can understand what is the value that we are getting at this part. Okay. So here it comes. So it says like when I say F6, so I'm getting the value 1. Okay. So this is fine. So we are getting see all of the values what we are getting is like it's replacing this one. So here what I'm going to do is like I'm going to use one method called replace first, and I'll give the what is that value that I want to replace is like value with the okay. So it is like still it is showing replace. Okay. Type of the string is not applicable. Let me just okay. So we are just trying to find this value. Whatever the value we have is like count. Count cannot be directly appended to the like for example, I cannot take this one as like a character. Okay, if I take this one as like a character, then what happens is like it's going to convert it to the what we say. It's going to convert into this particular character ASCII value. Okay, so in that case, it's going to throw the error. So yeah, what we are trying to do here is like we are just sorry guys. Yeah. So can someone tell me that what I have done? What is the mistake that I have done here? So again, we are trying to do something here that which is like it is replacing the value. But what is that I have done? Can you just analyze what is that I have done? So it is the string that I have taken, and again I'm trying to append this string. So if I all I mean like I have just shared this what is that? I've just shared the program with you, right? So can you just look into that and let me know what is that exactly I'm trying to do? I have just I'm trying to just show you like if we have any set of things like conversion of this character strings and integers. In that case, if we miss out something, then we can face this set of problems here. Okay, so we need to properly identify this particular character and we need to replace it. But here you can see I'm trying to convert that particular character. So string dot value of count. So what is that value of count? This is the one. So now I'm trying to convert this. We already looked into the methods, right? So what is that method that we used here? So string dot value of. So this we have already discussed. And I want to get the character it. So what is that? Here I'm getting the character right. But again, I'm going to use this rest is equal to rest plus string dot replace particular character. Will it work in this case? So if I change this one, then what is happening here? So first it will add the value. So first one will be replaced. And if it is second one is not matching, this particular character is not matching, it will go and try to replace this character. Okay, let's go and execute this. So it says like string index out of bound exception. Where is that I'm going to get? It's like replace. Let me remove this one. and take this one as like a string and append the string here. So what is happening now? Just I'm trying to convert that character and I'm again trying to add that character to that. Okay. So just I want to show you like guys. So what is that? Java. Another A is missing here because I've just taken the minus. Okay. So I don't want to confuse you guys, but to understand how exactly we are trying to solve this problem. Okay? It's not a big problem, but yet there is some challenges that we have to address. One is like, see, how do we convert this particular numeric value into the string? And how do we append this character to that particular string which we are using as like a result? Okay, so then I made a mistake here is like str dot value of something. So I'm trying to append the same set of strings to the existing empty string. So what happens is like it will keep on changing that one. Okay, so here if it is not, this line is not required. Still, if you want to optimize, what you can do is like you can just use it here. Okay, so these are the few things that we can keep in our mind. Okay, so now we can see what I'm trying to do is like I'm taking this particular character here itself, I'm just writing it. Okay, so it is all up to us, like if you want to convert this string into the other string and append it here, or else directly you can write this. Okay, so only thing that we missed here is like we just try to uh, convert this particular value into the string. Okay, so this is what we missed. So after that, what we try to do is like, if this character is not matching, then what I have to do is like, I have to take the rest of the characters, right? So I need to append them. So the next time when I see the J here in the string, what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to use this J again, I'm going to increment. Like anyways, we have a count value too. Okay. So it will be like, it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 like this. Okay. Okay. So let me give more number of J's here. What is happening here? Can you see? So still we have another thing here is like, still if you take this one as like a kind of a character and append it, there are a lot of approaches. But if you take that dot character at I, if I take that character at I, then what happens is like, see, if I try to take the character at I, what is that? String index out of bound range, because again it's like it's taking that particular character and it's like converting that into the here it is like a character. Okay, so again this is like a string. When I add something to the string, that will become the string. Okay, but it's not able to accommodate it. That is the reason why we are getting the error here. So we need to take this character and directly we can convert that particular value, whatever value we are getting as like a string, and append it to the existing one. Okay, now you can see that if it is like n number of strings that we have, so still we can go and use this. Okay, so there is no restriction for this. Let me just go and execute now. You can see how many number of J is there. So those many number of times it will show you that. Okay, I'm just showing this. There are 52 J's. Okay, there are 52 J's. So it's all up to us, like, it's how do we exactly solve this problem. Okay, so this is one approach. The other approach is like you can take the character rate and you can just convert that character into the string and append that and again check for the next character. So likewise we can keep on iterating it. I showed you like a couple of examples. Okay, so let me just show you the example here that I've taken. So here you see, so I tried to use this character here. This is another program, guys. Okay, so this is another program. So I just showed you the second approach here. How do we exactly do it? Okay, so this is like we have another thing here. We can use the replace first, and here I use the another approach. Okay, let me just copy paste this approach here. So this is the another approach that I used. Okay, so let's go and try to discuss about the different approaches that I used. So why I'm stressing on this program is like this is very important in terms of interview questions. They are going to ask you like, how do we replace this set of characters? Okay, with a numeric value. Okay, so now you see, I used like string dot value of count. Here we have like string dot value of dot count character rate 0. So it's going to convert this character. I'm going to append this. But what is the problem here is like when we have more than 10 characters, like more than 9 characters at a time. Okay, so then what happens is like the desired output we cannot get it. So for that reason, what I'm going to do is like I'll just cut this line. If I just cut this line and append this particular string here, then problem is solved. Okay. So we don't need. Okay. So we got, this is like, third approach. I use the same. Okay. In one of the approaches is like replace first. So replace first is like whenever I get this character. Okay. This is like this and the problem occurrence, like, problem statement for the occurrence tree solution is like similar. So here what we are trying to do is like we are taking a particular character here and we are trying to compare that character. Okay. So if I get that character matching, then I am going to replace that character. So replace first, what is that? This is like whenever it's going to find this particular character at the first time, it's going to replace that one. Okay. So it will not care for the rest of the characters. But now you see, it's like a kind of iterations we are keep on using. So in these iterations, what is happening now? So first time we saw this and we replaced with 1. Okay. So I mean some value. And second time I saw this. Now this is kind of like, we don't have any J's anymore. So this is like numeric, it is like, characters turned into the numeric. Now it will find the J here. It will replace it. Likewise, it will keep on replacing the values whenever you have this number of characters, which is matching here. Okay. So if it is matching, it will replace this. Okay. Replace first is like, this is the same thing again. See, string dot value of rep. So that's nothing but I'm converting this character into the string. So string dot value of count. That's nothing but I'm converting this integer into the characters. Now replace first, what is this? What is the exactly need? It needs both the strings. One is regular expression and the replacement value. Okay. So in that case, what it is doing is like it is trying to replace it. So I just want to show you like one thing is, so here I try to do multiple things because of like, I want to find out the optimized solution for the problem statement. Okay. So as I told you guys, I'm not going to directly show you the actual results. That is like, you can understand how exactly we need to frame the logic and what are the different approaches for that. Okay. So here you can see we have 3 approaches here. Okay. 3 approaches, which I just changed it. So yeah, I see we have 3 approaches. One is like replacing only that character and we are appending that character to this. If I take character 80, if I get some value like, here count becomes. Okay. So in this case, what happens? It will take only this character because character at 0 is like, we have like, this will be stored as part of like arrays. But if I say character 0, then it's going to take only one value. So that is the reason we are not considering this as like an optimized approach. This is like one approach you can explain during the interviews. The other one is like for the continuous solutions. Like when you want to have like multiple characters, which is like, J to be replaced with a numeric, then you can go with this approach. If you have less than 9, then you can go with this approach. Okay. So everything works. Only this will also work in this case if you have more number of J's without using any functions. So this is like replace first, it will take care of replacing the characters. But here it's like I'm just trying to convert this particular count into the string and then append to the existing. Here it is not like that. Okay. str is equal to str.replace in the sense what it does is like it will take the same string at a time and it will try to replace this. And it will append this particular value to that string. But the original string will remain same. Okay. It's immutable. And here we are trying to replace the same string. Okay. So when I just go through this loop, then what happens is like this string will be converted like this string, like nothing but it's going to replace the characters and it will take the same string at a time. Okay. It will not consider the original string. It will not change its value. Okay. So that is the reason why we are using this replace first with this string. Okay. String dot replace first, and we are making it as like immutable. Because of its immutable nature, we are trying to do these actions. But here it's like I'm taking altogether a new variable, string variable, and trying to append that value, whatever I'm getting, and I'm just appending the same value to this list. Okay. If it is matches, replace it. If it is not matching, take the next character and append to the existing one. Okay. If it is 1, then it will append the rest of the characters. Okay. So these are the approaches, guys. Now you can see when I execute this 1, 2, 3, you get the outputs like whatever we have discussed. Go and execute it. See, all of them are like you're getting the same thing here. So only the difference here is like here you can see the difference. So we have 1 course. It's saying like 1. See, after 9 it should take 10 and 11. Then we are considering this J, but it is not showing up because we are taking one character data. But in the next we are using replace first, and we are trying to replace the j character. And here we are not using any functions, but we are taking the count directly and converting it to the string and replacing that particular string particular character with a value count. Okay. So these are the three approaches, guys. Whichever approach you want, you can use it for the interviews. Are you clear with this, guys? So please practice. You'll come to understand like what the only logic is like this is the only logic is. Not even this one, not even this one. Only the logic is like this only logic. And here also, this is the only logic. Okay. Rest of the things will remain same. This is the only logic that we are trying to use. Okay. Okay, guys. So let's get started with OOPS concepts. Okay. So you might be aware of like, OOPS concepts remain same for all the programming languages. Okay. So there is nothing different when we are talking OOPS concepts. Like every programming language will have a class. Every programming language will have an object. Okay. So what are the OOPS concepts that we have? Case of programming languages, like when we consider Java, we have a class, object, then inheritance, polymorphism. Guys, this is very important concept. Please pay attention. Okay. So data abstraction, encapsulation. Okay. The other terms which comes under these, like, it's not non-OOPS concepts are like interfaces, arrays, strings. These are all kind of like a classes that we have. Like one is interface, another one is like classes. These are the like another things are like classes, and this is the interface. But we'll discuss about what is class, what is object, and how does they exactly work as part of like OOPS concepts. Okay. So then after we'll discuss about access modifiers. Then we have like how do we use this access modifiers in Java. Okay. Before getting into this, I'll discuss about like what is method and how do we create the structure of the class and everything. And after that, we are going to discuss about static, instance blocks, static keywords, instance blocks, and static blocks. Okay, so these are all things that whatever we are discussing are part of interview questions, guys. These are very important. Okay. Okay. So let's get started with the class. I'll take a new file here. Talk one at a time, so that will be easy. Okay. So what do when we see into this OOPS, what do you mean by OOPS? Okay, it's like object-oriented programming language. So object-oriented programming language. So here itself it says like we are oriented on the object. How exactly these things will work is like class is kind of a container. Okay, so how exactly this OOPS work is like we'll discuss about it. Okay, so now we see class is a container. Is a container. So what do we have in this container? Like we have a data members. Okay, so data members. So how does this class structure define is like class name, and then we have this data members, and then we have methods, we have inner classes, and then we have static blocks, static keywords and static blocks, instance blocks. Then we create object for this class. So it's nothing but we are going to create objects under this method. So we can call it as like object. And then we can accommodate just try catch blocks, try catch finally. So this is like handling the exceptions and then etc. Okay. So I'm just talking about these things for now and etc. There are a lot of things that we can accommodate. So what we see here, it's kind of like a blueprint. Okay. So class is kind of a container and it's kind of like a blueprint. For example, if you want to define a student class, so what are the things that you can define as part of a student class? So what does the student contains? Let us take, have a student here, and inside the student we have integer, student ID, string, student name, then string, branch, student branch. And what are the methods when we consider this student? For example, we have like student marks list. Okay. So then we have like student details. So wherein you can see that what is the student name, location, and everything will be there. Okay. Which college and all. So after this is kind of like we have some set of, see, whatever, like we have a statements inside this. Okay. So statements, and we have statements here also. Okay. So we have a student class. This is kind of like a blueprint. Okay. It's kind of like a template. We can call it as a container, a template, or a blueprint. Okay. So what is class? Class is like it has a data members, and we can call it as like a template, or we can call it as like a blueprint. And we can call it as like a container. Okay. So now we see when we have a kind of like, when we create a class, particular class, when we create a class here, just go to this and try to create a class. Okay. So for this, I'm going to create a package called oops. Inside this, I'm going to create another package called so I'm just converting this one. Don't worry about this, guys. So what I'm trying to do here is like just to organize in a proper way. So, not to this. Okay. So actually, the thing is like whenever you go create this particular package like this, so you are going to see the folders inside that particular folder. Okay. So when I go here, I'll show you how exactly it looks. See, this is like oops concepts. Oops inside we have a classes. Okay, which will create another folder. So here I'm going to delete this one. So we don't need this. So we have anyways package which we have created. Okay, let me refresh. I can see oops concepts. Okay. So internally, how does this creates a package is like, you can go and I can show you the folder. Okay, the structure would be like we have a source, inside the source we have oops concepts. But the another case is like directly we have created classes under this arrays program. But here in this oops concepts, I'm going to create like different packages for different concepts. Okay. So first I've created the classes. Let's go and create a simple class and we discuss about like how do we exactly have the structure of the class. Okay. So class example. So here what we discussed, just we are taking class example. Let us take, I'm going to take the examples of the student. Okay. So let me take the student stid and string student st name string st underscore branch. So what are these things we call? We call them as like, these things are called instance variables. Okay. So instance variables. Instance variables. Okay. So whenever we declare any set of variables outside of any method inside the class is called instance variables. Okay. So now I'm going to create small method public void display student details. Okay. So here I'm going to specify. Okay. So I know that student ID, student name, student branch, but other thing is like there could be some specific like student ID is like everything it would be common. Like for every student we have a different IDs. Okay. But we have a common variable for that. Student is also kind of like we have common variable and we can wherein student name would be different, but variable will remain same. Branch also kind of like if you are taking one branch at a time, then we can say that this is common for all the students. But what is not common? Let us take, I want to display the marks. Marks would be like, again, we have a same, we can use the same variable here, that student marks and all, but I'm just making it as like a specific to this particular method. Okay. So let me take it as like student marks. Okay. So whenever we declare any variable inside this particular method, any method, okay, that variable is called local variable, and its scope remains within this, okay, within this particular method. Okay. So here you can access them inside any method, okay, based on the like type of the variable that we have declared. We cannot use them as like these are like non-static variables. Okay, we'll discuss about what is static and non-static. These are like non-static variables. So you can include anywhere the methods which are non-static. Okay. So here now you see, if you want to display something here, let us take, I want this put marks as like some 90, and here I'm taking st id is equals to 1234 and st name. So this is like specific to a particular student. Student name is equal to Srikant st branch. Branch is equals to CSC. Okay. So now I got this details. So I want to print the details of this particular student. Okay. Print details. Student ID. Student name. Student name. And this is student. Okay. So now I got this. So I've defined like in a class, and I've defined the variables and defined the methods. Okay. So some other things are like we can still go and create the constructor of this. Okay. So another thing is like I need to add constructor to this. Okay. So we can have constructor. So data members, and finally we said etc. Right. So in that I'm going to just create a constructor. We'll discuss about what is constructor and all, but this rule is like constructor should be of same as class name. Okay. So this is constructor. So why do we use this constructor and all? I'll discuss later. Okay. First you see there's a class. In that class we have a constructor, we have instance variable, we have methods, we have local variables, and we are adding some statements. Okay. Now this is like, we have details about this particular student, but how do we execute them? How do we execute them? On what basis we have to execute them? Now you see this concept is like we have another concept within the hoops we call it as like an object. Okay, so object. So what does the object does is like it's going to create some space for this particular class in a heap memory. Okay, so we have some memory spaces like stack and heap, right? So heap is like kind of a memory where it's going to store some details about this class. Okay, so now we have to see to access this particular variables. Let us take like to access this particular things. Okay, I want to see what is the details of the students, and I want to see what are the variables that we have and what is that constructor it has created, and I want to see internal structure of this particular class. Okay, so then what we have to do is like we have to go with a mechanism or concept called object. Okay, so this object will help you to access the member variables of this particular class. Okay, so member variables of this particular class. Okay, let us take another class access. I say class access, otherwise class example 2. Now you see, how can I access this particular class members now outside of the class? So can I directly call them? Like can I say Steve? Are you able to see anything here? We are not able to see anything here. Okay, so because we don't have any objects, so that is the reason why Java is like tightly bind, and it says like everything is like object oriented. Okay, so we'll just go into the documentation of object and we'll see. Okay, so what is that object oriented thing? That is the reason we call object is like parent superclass of all these things. Object is the root of the class hierarchy. Okay, class object is the root hierarchy of class. Every class has object as a superclass. All objects including arrays implement the methods of these classes. Yes, just give me a second. I'm just getting a call. Hello. Sorry guys, please ignore. I got a water scarcity at my apartment, so that's the reason why people are calling me out for that. I'm really sorry for that. Okay, so now you see public class object. Okay, so here is like a kind of a public and it's a class, and we say it's an object. Okay, so every class within this Java is a subclass of the object. That's nothing but it's a child. Okay, so class is child, and you can see that there are string is a child. So whatever classes we have, everything is like a child to this object. Okay, so without object we cannot do anything. But there are few things like we can use static and also that are different. But when we compare to this kind of like when you want to access the member variables of this members of the classes, we have to create an object. Okay, now how do we create the object now? So it's very simple. There are two ways I'll show you. One is like generally we are going to use, we say that we have to create the object in a main method. Okay, so we'll discuss about main method. Why do we need to create in main method is like, so JVM, whenever we create a .java file, JVM will go and try to look for the we have created all these things. Okay, so we have created all these things. I'll remove this one. I'll show how exactly this internally work. Okay, so now you see, go to the class, you have this properties. You'll see the .class file. So it has created the .class file. Okay, .java file. Okay, sorry. Now go to the source, back to this, bin. Here you can see what is that class it has created .class. Okay, .class is nothing but, so when we compile this, JVM what it does is like, every Java class will have a dot class file, okay, associated dot class file. So who will be creating that? JVM would be creating. So JVM, what it does is like, it will not create any set of kind of a space. Okay, that's nothing but to access this member variables of this particular class without object. Okay, so that's nothing but we have to create a object. So further JVM does one thing is like, it's going to create a space whenever we are going to create object to this class. So coming to the main method. So we have like, class areas and heap area. Okay, class area is like all these things, whatever we are defining, instance variables, main method, everything will be kind of like, first they will get loaded. Okay, so whenever we have like, different uh, kind of like, memory spaces are different orders of execution in the Java actually. Okay, so internally, how does it exactly do is like, we have a loader, okay, class loader. Then after we have memory allocation, execution engine. Okay, so this is nothing but internal structure of JVM. So loader in the sense, what it does is like, first it will load the class and then it will allocate the memory. So how this memory allocations will be done is like, first we are going to get the static memory in the sense, before class gets loaded. Okay, before class gets loaded. So in that case, what happens is like, static, whatever we are defining as like a static, that will get some spaces. Okay, so after that, class members, whatever we have class members is like, we have methods, we have instance variables, and we have different set of like inner classes or anything. Okay, so all these things will get the spaces, and after that we are going to get the method area. Method area is like, so locally, which are like, method local to the particular class will get the memory. That's nothing but it's kind of like, first in first stack, what we say. Okay, stack memory. So static will take the preference. Okay, so JVM, what it does is like, whenever we are creating any class, first it will go and search for that main method when we are trying to execute it. Okay, so that is the reason why you don't get this option run as C. Now run configuration. Okay, you don't have any Java application because JVM, now it's all like, everything is like compiled properly and we don't have any errors here. Okay, so if any errors are there, see, now I remove this semicolon. Now JVM will complain about it. It will say that syntax error here. Okay, JVM, what exactly compiler does is like, uh, it's going to check each and every line of this code. Okay, so internally we have, in case of JVM, we have two things. One is interpreter, another one is like compiler. Okay, so JVM, what it does is like, it will use the compiler as like first tool. Now you see, so when I save it, it's going to throw the error. I meant to say that when I save it, what internally JVM does is like, it will just start looking at the code. Okay, save it. Now you see there is a issue. It's reporting here. Okay, it's the ID, so we are getting this issue. Okay, but in case when we are trying to go and try to execute this, in case of like, command prompt, we'll see what is that error. Okay, so what I need to do is like, simply I'll go to the location of this file. I'm showing like, why do we need this main method and why do we need this object? Okay, so what is the exact essence of using these classes, objects, and how do we execute them, and what are the different things that internally happens? Okay, so that I'm trying to explain you guys. Okay, so here says CMD. Okay, JavaScript. What is it? Example. So what it is showing now? So compiler, it's showing the error. Okay, so now I'm trying to go and fix it. Okay, I'm trying to run it through the CMD. Okay, command prompt. So here I'm going to fix it. We don't have any compilation issues. Okay, now I try to run it. See, could not find or load main class example.java because class not found exception. Class, it's like, it's not finding that particular main method and you're trying to execute it. It is complaining about it. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'm not creating any object now. I'll just create the main method and try to execute it. So still it is complaining about it. Let me here to put only this particular. See what is happening here. So it ran successfully. So here the thing is like this. I just use this Java. We do not use Java. Just you can use this 1 second. I used a class name here instead of this Java file. That is the reason why it was. Now you see, it's like, no, we have to use like Java. So here I used a class, and that's the reason it's like it's trying to open the class. Okay. So dot not, we should not execute this dot class file. We have to execute the Java class example.java. Okay. So this is the command. I'll just clean up everything and I'll just try to show you again. Okay. So Java C, I'm using tabs. So that is the reason why it is pulling out the things. Okay. So Java. Compile successfully. Run it. Run successfully. But there is no object. Okay. There is no object created. But what is happening here? You can see there is an option which is shown. Run as Java application. So what internally JVM is doing is like, first it will try to compile the program. Okay. So interpret and compile. Okay. Both things will be done hand in hand. So it will go line by line and it will try to interpret. And compile is like at a time it will go and try to execute all the code that we have written as part of class. Okay. So if we are finding anything here, okay. So now you see that we are missing some semicolon. So basic thing is not working here. Okay. So forget about like execution, but basic thing is not working. So it will throw the error here. So it says like, this semicolon is expected. Okay. But when you try to go and execute this program, what is happening? It is complaining about same thing. So compiler, if we fix everything properly, like if it does not have any compilation issues, then it will go and try to execute the program. Okay, let me just remove this main method and first I'll compile and then try to execute this. Okay, so Java C example compiled perfectly. Now I try to execute this. So what it says, like, see, cannot find main method in the class. Oops. So what is this? It is exactly complaining is like there is no main method. So I cannot execute this program. Okay, I cannot execute this program because we are not finding the main method. So JVM is looking for the main method. So now I'm going to add the main method here. Okay, now go and try to. Now you see, it's ran perfectly. Okay, we do not have any issues here. So what exactly it will do is like internally. First thing first is like this is a JVM. Okay, so this is a JVM. So internally first it will, what is the structure of this is like we have loader as we discussed over there, memory allocation, memmalloc I'll say, and after that we have execution. So in this execution we have a JIT compiler. Okay, so JIT compiler, this is nothing but just-in-time compiler. So loader, it will load the class, okay, and it will allocate the memory and it will execute. So during loading, class should be perfectly defined. I mean to say that we should not have any set of compilation issues. When it loads, if it finds any compiler issues, then it's going to report here. So memory allocation is like everything is like properly done. And here we see that we have created an object. So when we create an object or when we have some set of static methods, okay. So in that case, what it does is like it's going to store those static members or objects in that memory location. Okay. In memory, like allocating the memory for that particular members of the class. And just-in-time compiler is like it's a part of a JVM. So what it does is like if you execute this particular program, let us take this first time I have written. So what it does is like it will take some time, but next time when you try to execute this program, it will be faster because it has already loaded and it's kind of like it's going to occupy some space over there. So what it is like, it will not do the recompilation again. It will just execute that particular. Okay. So, and other thing is like whenever we write any .java file, the associated .class will be created. So who will be creating this .class file? JVM will be creating for us. Okay. So this is the reason why we call it as like Java is a independent, platform independent. Okay. So if somebody asks you what is platform independent, then you can explain them. Okay. So we are going to have this .java file, right? .java file, which is like, it's going to produce this .class file. This .class file can be executed any of the operating system, but only condition is like we should have a JVM installed on that machine. So this JVM will try to execute this .class file. Okay. So it's nothing but write once, execute many times. Okay, only you have to write one time and you'll get that dart class file. That dart class file can be explained anywhere on the operating systems. Okay, wherein we have to install only JVM. So this is the reason why we call it as like a platform independent. Okay. So now let's go back to this again. Now you see we have a class loaded here and it will get the memory allocation and after that it will execute. So when this will happen, like class loaded in this class loader, it's going to compile and interpret. If we have any issues with compilation or interpretation, then it's going to report it here. Allocation is like now it will allocate the memory. So how the memory will be allocated? Let's go and create a object. Where do we need to create the object here? Is like we'll create the object in the main method. So main method is the starting point of the JVM. JVM will start executing the program once after looking at the main method. If we have defined this main method, then only it will come and execute it. What is the syntax of the main method? Remember, this is very important. Okay, public static void main, and we should have a string arguments. If you don't define the string arguments, again you see we got the same issue here. We don't find that Java application here option. Okay, to execute this. Let me just go and try to execute it. You got the exception here, right? You can see main string. Okay, you get the same exception. Same error here. See what it says, main string. So this is what it is looking for. Okay, the reason behind this is like sometimes you may use like the main method. Okay, this is not a keyword. You can see it's not a keyword. Keywords are highlighted in some other color. Okay, when we use the IDs, we can find it. So now you see, I'm writing main. I'll write some content here. Okay, system out. This is my main method. So I have the feasibility of writing this one. Okay, now you see, I'm going to write the same thing, but using the signature where JVM is expecting. What is that JVM is expecting? We can write like this also. Okay, so now you see, right click on it, you'll find Java application. Okay, the thing is like JVM is looking for certain main method that have the signature and the parameters. Okay, you can see public static void main. Yeah, the same thing, void main, but only the parameters are different. Here we don't have this string arguments, but here we have the string arguments. Okay, so this is JVM main method. Now, where do we create the object? We have to create the object inside this main method. Okay, so how do we create the object? We should use the syntax called, I'll write the syntax here. This is the class name. We call reference variable. Okay, so please understand this, guys. A reference variable is equals to, we have to use a new keyword. When we use a new keyword, it will create the object, but followed by the constructor. Okay, followed by the constructor. That's nothing but a class name. One close and open bracket. Now you see. So this is the syntax of creating the object. Now how do we create the object? Class name, reference variable. I'm taking x is equals to reference variable and using a new keyword. Okay, new keyword. So if I just terminate it, what happens now? So see, when we look into this new keyword, it says like we are trying to create some space in the heap memory. Okay, but we should have something. If you are trying to do like this, it will not allow you to create the object, but we should have the constructor. Okay, constructor will not create the object, but constructor, what it does is like it will help you to just initialize the instance variable. We'll discuss about them little later. Okay, so what is that? Class example. Okay, so this is a class name, reference variable, new keyword used to create the object, and this is a constructor. Okay, so this is a syntax, actual syntax for creating the object. This is like first method. Okay, method one for creating object. Okay, what is the another method that we can use? Another approach is like method 2. See, observe carefully. I'm not using any new keyword. Okay, if somebody asks you like, can we create object only in one way? No, we can create in multiple ways, but I know 2 ways. Okay, you can say 2 ways. What is that? Second way is like example.class dot get new instance. Okay, so new instance. So when you use this, it's going to ask you to throw some exception. Okay, we'll discuss about what is this exceptions and all. legal identifier. So now you see, we got object created. Okay. So how do we find out like whether this object is created or not in the memory? Okay. For that we have hash code. Okay. So we were discussing about hash code some way back, right? In the strings. Now you see, I'm trying to find out this particular object location in the heap memory. So here also I'm going to use the same thing, x1. Okay, let me execute this program and see what is the hash code that it's going to generate. See, this is the hash code for this X object, and this is the hash code for the X1 object. Okay, so constructor I have created, so that's the way it is showing the default constructor. We'll discuss about constructor little later. Now you see, I'm going to execute it and see the object location. So we got the object locations for both of the objects that we have created. So the first way is like you can use the class name, reference variable, new keyword, and followed by constructor. Here in the second way is like class name, reference variable, class name dot class, and new instance. This is a method. What it does is like internally it's going to create the object. Okay. So whenever we create the object, we can get the hash code of it. Okay. So now you see this is a location. So internally what happens is like, I'll show you. So this is the memory, and here you can see we have created X and X1. When JVM executes it, it's going to allocate some memory for this. Okay. What is that class that we have created? We have created class example, right? So this particular thing will be pointing to this location, and this will be pointing to this location. So internally, heap memory, this is the heap memory. Okay. So heap memory, we are going to get the spaces for this particular object. Okay. So JVM, who does these things? JVM will take care of it. Okay. So loading the classes and memory allocation, then after it will execute the program with the help of like execution engine and JIT compiler. So this will take care. This is nothing but everything is like software. Okay. So everything is like a kind of a software. It will internally use it. So now we see that we have created the object. Now we can easily access the elements of that particular class. Now see st branch, st id, st name, and display details. Okay. I'm going to use this. Now I'll execute the program. So what we got? Student details, student names, student ID, student name, and student branch. Okay. So all the details, whatever we have put here, are displaying outside. So now you see outside in the sense it's printing on the console. Before that, if we did not create the object and we do not have this main method, so it was like, we are unable to fetch the results. Fetch the results in that sense, access the data members of that particular classes. Okay. So this is all about like, class and the object. Class is a blueprint or a template or a container. Okay. Which have the data members. These are the data members that we have. But object is like kind of a space that we get as part of the heap memory. Okay. So with this heap memory, what it is like, it's allocating some object here. So through this object that we are getting some space, now we can perform the operations. Like, we are retrieving the elements of that particular class. Okay. Data members of that class can be accessed here. So x.display st details in the sense, now it is pointing to this particular object. What is that object? This object is referring to this class. So JVM first comes here and it will look into the object. Yes, we got the object. And after that, it's going to call the method. So the control will come here and it will try to execute this. Okay. Assigning the values, then it will execute this statement. Okay. So internally, these things will happen. Yes. Okay. You need to understand these things. These are very important and very basic. So once you understand this, then you can easily write the programs. Okay. So what is the structure of the class? I can see. What is the structure of the class? We have a class name, data members, and you can see what the data members that we have in this ID. We have a class name, main method. You can write main method anywhere, guys. Okay, it's not mandatory that you have to write it the first statements of this. You can write anywhere, but the thing is like it should be there in the class. Then only you can be able to execute it. Okay. So now we see what are the data members of this class. We have instance variables, and we have methods, and we have method statements inside the methods, and then we have a main method. And the object is created through this object, I'm able to access the members of this particular class. Okay. So there is another thing is, so now you see, I'm going to create here also, I'm going to write the main method. This is another class. Okay. How do we access the members of other classes now? X dot display. How I'm accessing now? I'm creating an object for this class. So where is this class located? It is located somewhere. But we are trying to create the same, the object that we have created for this class in the other classes. That's nothing but the same thing that we have done here, right? Now you go and execute it and you'll get the results. Okay. So this is nothing but we are trying to create object in other classes and we are trying to access the members of that particular class. Okay. So this is a class and I have the other class wherein I can create the object. Okay. So this is how we'll be working on the classes and the objects. Okay. With the help of objects only, we can able to access the data members. Okay. There are other ways we can use the static and we'll discuss about in detail what is static, what is instance block, and how do we access the static members outside of the class and inside the class. Okay. There are certain rules that we have to remember. Okay. So are you clear with this, guys? Do you have any questions?
No, Shikha.
Okay. So this is very important, guys. Okay. You need to understand what is JVM, what is loader, what is memory allocation, how memory allocations will be done, and what is heap memory. Okay. Stack memory and method areas are like different, little different that I'll discuss in detail. So when we talk about like methods, okay, what is non-static, what is static method, and everything will be discussed in detail. Okay. For today, you can just practice this, guys. So just a few glitches were there. I'm sorry for that. So, and I meant to say that I got calls in between the meeting. Okay. In the class. Okay. I'm sorry for that. Please practice this, guys. It's very simple. Just what you need to do is like for today, take it as like assignment, create a class, create some method, create some instance variables, and create a main method and create an object and try to access them. Okay. So here you can see it is very simple. Only thing is like you need to declare these variables at the class level and create some method. Inside that method, write the statements and write a main method and create an object. Okay. So I mean, generally in interviews, I'm going to ask you, ask people about like how do we create the object. So they'll give the expression like class name and we new keyword and the constructor. But I ask them like are there any other ways that we can create the object without using new keyword? So somebody would explain about like they can use this dot class new instance, or there is like there is like decoupling. There are other things that we can deserialization. Okay, but I'm just interested to know that most of the people, they don't know how do we create the object and what is the essence of creating the object and why do we use the objects. Okay, without new also we can create the object. Here we saw this, right? So if you want to execute this code, whatever we are talking about like student details, so now you can see we'll get multiple values which will be shown here. See, this is one set I'm getting from X object and this is the another set I'm getting from X1 object. Okay, so these are very important and basic things, guys, you need to remember. And most of the times interviewers will be asking these questions. Any doubts, guys, from the previous class, not from the current session?
No.
Okay. Okay, guys, let's meet tomorrow and please practice and let me know if you have any doubts in this. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.